And so the Wilditarian movement, subtitled Living as Nature Intended, was really born from that. What we did with Glenn is we matched his genetic blueprint to his current state of health and understood what was causing the significant tripwire for him.
That
and
is,
so this,
that,
go ahead.
Yeah, that is so fascinating. And why I'm interrupting is because I would love you to talk us through how someone comes to you and gets their genetic mapping done to then drill down into the cause of the illness and how you go about it.
Absolutely. So we have two ways. I have a naturopathic doctor that is in our office, and she performs our nutrigenomic analyses. And so what that is you can take a 23andMe or an Ancestry.com or other forms of nutrigenomics where they basically mark your polymorphisms. We bring it through our internal algorithm, and then I look at it as a symphony because no one gene acts in isolation, no one gene polymorphism acts in isolation. And so through the Cochrane methodology, we link your genetic tendencies to your symptomology, and then we create a very, very specific roadmap with food and supplementation. Alternatively, in our practice in-house, we do applied kinesiology. This is a form of muscle testing. This is all energy medicine.
I love it.
And so we have the vials. It's really all energy. We have vials that carry the electromagnetic signature of these gene polymorphisms as they do food, hormones, environmental toxins, neurotransmitters, and so forth. And so as we muscle test, and I've developed my own methodology within the greater construct of applied kinesiology to really drill down to a very granular and nuanced, in real time, what is happening in your body and what is being expressed according to this muscle testing. And so we match that because even the best functional MD, and I'm not an MD, although I have an ND in my practice and she's trained under my method, doesn't utilize my Cochrane methodology where if you look at it from a biochemistry perspective, let's just give an example that your enzymes for protein digestion and fat digestion and sugar digestion are impaired. So typically a very well-trained functional practitioner would say, well, let's give you digestive enzymes. Well, there are many forms of digestive enzymes. And if you also have a pathogenic load, let's say strep or candida, which are fungal and bacterial that feed on mold, and that practitioner gives you a digestive enzyme that is plant-based because they're trying to be gentle, but that plant-based is aspergillus, which is a mold. That digestive enzyme is going to feed the pathogens, which cause the tripping of the genetics to begin with.
Yeah.
So this is why it's so granular in our approach that we really marry in real time, not just what is the best supplement, which is the antidote to the imbalance for you from a biochemical perspective and someone that knows their biochemistry very well. But what is our body telling us? Can the body assimilate it? And we muscle test that imbalance with the antidote. And if the antidote doesn't work, that means the antidote is causing yet another imbalance. And so this is what I love about this approach is that it is real-time energy. And another component of the Wilditarian diet, living as nature intended, is that we know that our thinking carries frequencies. And these frequencies, if it's a negative thought pattern, if it is a pattern of limiting belief systems, of scarcity, of fear, we know that biochemically it will lower our immune system by up to 5 hours for up to 50%.
Wow.
And there are some studies out of Germany that also show that pathogens, just like everything on the planet, has a signature vibration. And these signature vibrations are low level. And so if we live into the vibration of gratitude and hope and possibility, we no longer are a vibrational match for that pathogenic load. And, this work has been really elucidated and illuminated by the beautiful human, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote the book, which is now in its 16th edition, The Biology of Belief. And he is considered the father of epigenetics. He may have even coined that term, noting that our environment, especially our thinking and who we surround ourselves with, our energy, has a direct impact on our genetic expression. It doesn't mean that our genes will change. We are born with genes. They are always going to be the same. But how they are expressed, the epigenetics, which is how environment, in the greatest definition, expresses our genes. And so high vibration living, having a vessel that is clear to take in high vibration itself, can be healing. And the studies on prayer and meditation, it's not just because we become relaxed and we're in a relaxed state, we're vibrating at a different frequency. And when we do that, we're no longer potentially intersecting with those pathogenic loads. And one of the things that I do in my practice, I am very intentional about what I share with my clients as we're going through the consultation and we're doing the muscle testing or we're doing an online consult. I'm explaining to them exactly what is happening to their body. And what I call that is a remembering. For example, let's say that according to our testing, and even if you've brought blood work, that you have a reactivation, let's say, of a cytomegalovirus that is in the herpes family of viruses that has been known to elicit a neurotoxic condition. The Epstein-Barr on the cytomegalovirus has been linked to thyroid condition and Hashimoto's. That virus was triggered to cause an autoimmune response. When I share with the client that that's what's happening and what we're going to do to manage that by removing foods that feed the viral load, amyloids being one of them, mycotoxic foods of the legumes of peanuts, which is an aflatoxin, which also makes biofilm, which then trips the amyloid burden, which then fire starts those pathogens, which then leads to the autoimmunity. The body is doing a little happy dance saying, oh my gosh, that's right. That's exactly what's happening in my body. And so it now has a really good roadmap just from the resonance of my voice to their cellular membrane saying, this is what's happening. And remember, you can be in a different state, which is your original divine blueprinting. And time over time, I receive the words, Terry, you have given me hope. That is, if there's one thing that my client base has said over and over to myself and my naturopath, we give them hope. And what I'm saying is we give them a remembering, and then we're providing a very specific, granularly based genetic blueprint roadmap to get them back into balance. And more often than not, that's what happens. And we see miracles here day in and day out. When many of my clients have been told you will always be this. And I said, well, maybe, maybe not. If we ask the right questions and we follow the answers, then anything can happen. Miracles can happen.
This is kind of like a system buster for so many people. And I'm going to ask you a question that I have had to answer from my channeling, and I've also, for Bruce Lipton, I've seen him answer it on stage. I don't want to have your take on it because I know already what it's going to be, but there are many who would say they have predisposed genealogy for certain diseases. Their mom had it, and their genealogy shows it, and all of that. And so they say, well, it's inevitable. It's there, and you can't wish it away, and all that. So they're, of course, the next thing is they're expecting it. Give me the whole thing.
Yes, we say genes are potentiality. They're not our destiny. Mm-hmm. And it's a dance of wave particle. And I call it flatbread versus angel food. When you're in a state of this is inevitable.
Would you say that again?
The
Zoom kind of interrupted your audio for a minute. I want everybody to get that. Tell me the phrase again. You say it's...
Yes. So when we're in this pattern of we're inviting that in because it is inevitable, that's a low vibration. So we are more particle than wave. So we move, I call it flatbread. So in flatbread, we have a denser biochemistry and biodynamic. So movement can't get through. And so we're bringing that in because this is what we're told. And we've just literally like set the cake and it's flatbread. When we are in a higher vibration thinking, I move it to angel food cake, where we can get movement, and we don't have to be that destiny because we are molecules in motion. And that motion can move out of vibration that no longer potentially expresses that gene.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, this is why it's so powerful. And the world of neuroscience is proving this over and over again. Because in every millisecond, we exist in potentiality. When we have a thought, that thought has an oscillating wave
Mm-hmm.
that will affect the currency, the rate of molecular movement, not only within the electron, but within the space inside the subatomic material. That wave will either increase our immune system, so it leaves our divine blueprinting alone, or it pings that immune system. And another analogy is, and this is the work of Dr. Bruce Ames, we take 10,000 DNA hits every day on our cell membrane. 10,000. When that cell membrane is happy and buoyant, it's going to bounce off. When that cell membrane is brittle, it is more susceptible to impact, to cross that DNA, to cross into that DNA in that mitochondria. Similar with genes, if you look at the analogy, if we're in a high level vibration, it's going to bounce off. Whatever that potential is, it's not going to hit that expression and turn it on. Mm-hmm. If we're in a low vibration, it's more susceptible and it's going to get hit. It's going to recognize that vibration and say, oh yeah, I'm supposed to turn it on because I was told that that's my destiny. Mm-hmm. Well, no, not at all. No. And the work of again, Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's proven that by thought alone, he walked again after a significant spinal cord injury. He directed his thinking, which is a wave, to affect a physiological change through the homodynamism within him. That is a beautiful thing.
And
that is a beautiful thing.
I think what is a beautiful thing is that there are some individuals who find that difficult to apply to themselves personally. We can hear about it, all those examples of other people thinking and creating health. But when it's you as an individual, it's a lot more challenging. And I love that your method allows us to dive into the genetics, take a look at that situation and map out, well, what food and nutrition is going to support me in the path to wellness again. And it sounds like you've probably had every single person that's come to you who is willing to follow your approach has had results.
It's really been unprecedented in the efficacy of the approach. And so this is where not only our thinking, but our food can express genes. And this is the work of nutrigenomics. And so I've coined killer kale and the dirty bird. So kale is both a sulfur and an oxalate. If you have that polymorphism and you're eating kale, you're effectively leaking your gut, affecting your nervous system and your joints. 73% of rheumatoid arthritis has been linked to impaired sulfur processing. Another reason why sulfur and oxalates have become such a big bad thing, which are in healthy foods, is because the glyphosate, which is the active ingredient found in Roundup, which is liberally sprayed on our crops, particularly wheat, stops the body's ability to process sulfur. It impairs the body's microbiome to make the bacteria that metabolize oxalates. And I'll explain which foods these are. And it also mimics an amino acid that's so critical in protein digestion. And so the tenets of the wildatarian diet are protein malabsorption, inability to process sulfur, inability to process oxalates, and fat malabsorption, which is the stress response. Because stress, I call it the dirty cupcake, because you're literally eating or making an equivalent of a dirty cupcake every time you have a stress event,
Yep.
because you're pushing epinephrine or adrenaline and cortisol, which is both a fat and a sugar. So you're literally cupcaking yourself.
I love the imagery here. You're doing great. People are already saying, okay, how can I find out more about you? What do you offer? These kinds of things. So we've got 4 minutes left, believe it or not. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, many ways to reach us in our world. Of course, if you'd love to come see us, we're in DC, but we also see people from all over the world. We do nutrigenomic analyses and virtual consultations. My book, The Wilditarian Diet, Living as Nature Intended, is on Amazon. It was an Amazon new release bestseller. It has a companion program called the Heal and Seal program, which is a 45-day program and a long-term reset. That's eating to your wild type and your current state of health based on a quiz you take. And we are always informing. So we have a tremendous body of knowledge on our website that if you just do a search for Hashimoto's or depression or weight gain or fertility, there are many, many blogs that have a lot of clinical evidence behind them. Follow us on all of the social media platforms. We're continually putting out new and emerging science around what it is. I have developed a supplement line that has immune balancer, a stress balancer, and a plant-based electrolyte powder. Again, I call those the trifecta. They're just incredible. Also, you can find that on our website. So many ways to work with us, programmatically, in clinic, and just being educated.
The trifecta. I love that. The fact is, right now, even as we speak, people are still very afraid. There's a lot of stress going on because of COVID, because of the results of it, because of the uncertainty of the future still. And they're afraid of so many things right now. I think that's probably one of the best things I've heard so far for that, anyway, the trifecta. Stress is a killer. I mean, and we've known that for a very long time, but more than just that, it serves up those dirty cupcakes.
Yes, I'm forever going to remember that.
Yeah, right. And so we have just a couple of minutes left. Is there something you'd like to tell our listeners that perhaps you haven't said, or some advice or anything?
Yes. When you ask me, why is it so hard for us to do it for ourselves? What I want to leave your audience with is, if I'm having a thought process that only serves to hurt me, why would I want to continue that? And this is when we honor ourselves and say, I love myself enough to no longer have this destructive thought pattern that is only hurting me. Why would I want to hurt myself? Let's shift that. I call it stop, drop, and roll. Let's stop that thinking, drop it through moving energy, dancing, shifting, doing a weight, exhaling, screaming, drumming, and then lift it to a higher vibration. It works.
It works. We've seen it work.
Yes.
And if I could look everybody in the eye who's listening right now, the biggest thing that she has said, in my opinion, is what so many of our guests have said. And that is, whatever you think is going on in your body right now, whatever that is, and you believe that it's you, or it's built in, or you were born with it, that isn't the case. It's only a potential. It's not your destiny. Did you hear her say that? This is what we have taught over and over and over. And here's another guest who, in her 20 years or more of practice, is saying, I've seen it, we've cured it, it works. Thank you, Terry.
My pleasure. Thank you
so much for being our guest today. And I know that many people are going to want to talk to you now. So just get ready.
Thanks.
All right.
Wonderful. Well, we are